us all?
Yeah, Butch, I guess just going into the weekend, no, you don't have Joseph. Just talking about the kind of rotation and the decisions behind, the way you're setting up.
Yeah, the only piggyback that's holding true is the game one, and it's been Bauman and Alsop. Alsop's got 2 starts. We thought the second start was some growth from the first start. We're going to switch them this week, and I think it's less to do with our opponent, more to do with 2 more weekends, and you want that weekend next weekend is the final one before SEC play starts. So we wanted to see them in both roles. We wound up with probably Alsop's outing the first time like, man, let's give him another chance to do it again. The second one got a little bit better. Bauman's been a pretty consistent performer for us, and we want to see him how he will act in the start because, man, there's a difference. We're seeing that early on with, at least with our staff. You can't take anything for granted. But I think the more exposure, the more experience we get guys, the better off we may be down the road. So it'll be Bauman, and I would look for Alsop to potentially tuck right in behind him. We've kept him on that same day. They're both building pitch count. Herbert Holtz will stay in that slot on Saturday, and Joseph's slot right now. We think the ball's come out of his hands better than we anticipated or actually saw in the fall. So if he can keep getting more comfortable, get to his stuff, and we think he can change speeds and presents some off-speed pitches, maybe a little bit ahead of some of our other guys have been able to execute some sequences. I'm excited about that. And then Sunday will be Crotchfelt. So he has thrown, it seemed like the first 2 weekends, like 3 2/3 Sunday out of relief. And now getting him moved up and seeing him in a start, something we want to do. Armstrong, Cannon, our guys that you're sitting there in the back end, it was nice for them not to have to pitch last night. So probably last night I have to give the offense more credit for creating us staying away from them. But them not having to pitch tonight, I think, really gets them fresh, ready to compete and have a good weekend for us. So those are the first 5 or 6 I think about that are in specific roles going into the weekend.
What do you like about what Tanner's done in his first 2 appearances?
I like that it's been enough strikes. I think there's been one moment in his 3 or so innings that he's thrown a couple of times to where it's like, man, there's just a couple of sequences where it's like he got off track. But he's been able to get back on. The other thing I like, I just think it presents a tough at bat. I don't think people are just squaring him up over and over and over. So I think his arm slot presents a little bit of a challenge, and able to get to a breaking ball a little bit, but really able to get to his changeup, and the fastball has shown survivability. I think that's a key. You start talking about what would you say is the commonality of freshman All-Americans, and everybody's like, is it the wipeout breaking ball? Well, maybe out of the pen, but I think more so guys that are going to throw multiple innings or try to get through a lineup twice is fastball survivability. I think Bauman has shown us fastball survivability because of that lower left-handed slot.
But you're a couple of weeks in, you're going into a weekend, and none of the 3 guys were on the roster last season. Is that a little strange to think about it? And does it show you how you have to adjust and how quickly you have to adjust in some situations?
Yeah, you're always in constant adjustment, and you're also it won't stay the same either. It's for whatever reason, amateur baseball. You keep trying to develop as much as you possibly can, and you keep trying to put yourself in the best position to have success each and every weekend. And I think the flexibility is something I want our guys to gravitate toward and be good with. And hopefully as we get closer here in a couple more weeks, things shake out and we start moving in a direction. But we need to be flexible. I think that is going to help us answer all the questions. We have a moment that not crazy about, and you still see some guys you put in a game that probably see ghost either on the mound or positionally or wherever it may be in an at bat. But I still think we're trying to build the best team we possibly can. And again, I'm thankful to the offense affording us that opportunity. But hopefully every time that we expose something that everybody perceives as a weakness, and we're able to roll it out there and survive, that at some point we'll get the dividends back on that later on. So I'm just asking every player, every coach to continue to be flexible as we put out these new setups and understand that a season has ebb and flows, and some of it's forced, some of it is putting it together to this is the best way we can line up this weekend. But all in all, that this flexibility with this team will hopefully make us stronger down the road.
How's Bob Pierce looking for this weekend?
We'll know at the end. He's going to do more in practice, so he has not stopped swinging. This is not a long-term deal, so it is not knees. This is the hamstring type deal. So we think it's a strain. I don't think there was any coloration or anything where we thought it was significant. The thing with hamstrings, I think you always say historically you do not want it to linger. So I think he'll try to participate in practice, and at the end of practice we'll know if it's a go for tomorrow. So we're targeting. We'd love to get him back in tomorrow and get him back in a series. Last weekend he come out of the game. If that was June, would he stay in the game? Probably. But at the same time, you don't want anything to linger now. What an important piece he is. But it's afforded some guys to do some things. I thought Josh Hall did a nice job last night. Stanfield was exciting getting in the game. The goods outweighing the bad. It's so easy. Human nature makes us focus on the negative. There's so many good things happening, and there's so many things that we could keep from bringing to the table to keep us stronger. But I don't like Bobby being out, but I love guys being able to get some reps and get some at-bats and get some playing time. Again, I think that's banking some things to make us stronger down the stretch. But I hope he's back in there, but I hope he's honest with us today too. He didn't want to come out the other day. But we don't want this to linger, but this is minor. I tried to be as honest as I could, like with Joseph, we think couldn't got a better report, but we know injuries this time of year and at all levels of baseball. We hate it. It's yucky. It's not good. So as soon as Joseph feels good, we'll get him back out there. But Bobby's is extremely minor and cautious. Today's practice is going to tell us his availability for tomorrow and this weekend.
Talking about reps, the left side of the infield, the right side of the infield, you've got Green and Moss, both good run at second, three different guys at first base, and it feels like that's kind of now Cooper's job. How do you feel about those two second basemen, that kind of their strengths and weaknesses to each other, and how they can together make the team better?
Yeah, it's right and left. We think Green might give us a touch more range, and he's just a headsy ball player, winner. Been great. Moss has held up good. It's been nice to get him in there where you feel like you got two guys that can play. I think it can be as simple as are they got a right-handed starter, a left-handed starter? What are the splits? So I think they're both in conversation. I don't think it's like, hey, we're going with Moss as our second baseman, or Green's our guy. And I like that right now. I think I'm good with that situation. If our staff feels like both these guys could start and play at second base and who's the best for those first couple of at-bats depending on the starter, I'm great with that. We're going to continue eventually. You've seen Dial back-to-back weeks at catcher. He's done a nice job in the midweeks. We think Nate is the defensive catcher. It helps us throw our best innings for our pitching staff. So Ike Irish, we've been working him the last 2 weeks at first, but he could get in there. We could really make this really confusing at first base. But as long as I've been a weirdo from the standpoint, as long as he's hitting like that, I don't want him thinking too much about that first base bag in a weird way. So let's don't force the game. Let's let this naturally round out. And he's getting some reps. I would not be surprised in the coming weeks if you saw Ike some at first base, because you want to catch lightning in the bottle. You might have 5 other hitters, and who's just killing the ball. That might give you more flexibility if Ike's at first. And that DH position is available for the hottest hitter that we have going that's not out there. Maybe that makes us a little bit stronger. Those are the things that we toss around a little bit. McMurray, that's really awesome for him to get a second home run. Our offense is doing an amazing job of connection right now, and really it's 3 of the last 4 games or something like that with 3 or less strikeouts in a contest. I want to grab that for Gabe. I want to make a point with the team. That needs to be huge. So the guys that are actually having good at-bats and putting the ball in play, we just know that this is a we think this is going to be a team that can play more guys than we've been able to do the last few years. Green's not the biggest guy in the room. Keeping him fresh, keeping him strong. We have had some good long finishes to seasons. We've really rode some guys, position players every day, and were they 100% ready? I'm blessed right now to be at a program where the outside thinks much of us, that we're making decisions, trying to play the long game, trying to win a championship, the big one, and that's fun to do. That's what we should be doing. That's what I'm asking our coaches to do. I'm asking our players to understand, and we're making decisions. What are the solutions we can find late in the year for the guys in our roster to be as strong as possible? And can it be stronger than it has been the last two times maybe we've ended up in Omaha, as hard it is to get there? We are looking for those inches of solutions, and that's a good place to be. That's where we need to be.